Hello and welcome back to Speed Demon Painting. Today we are taking a look at the new Armoured Clash faction, the Commonwealth. The first release is the one-player starter box, which is a massive army in one go. This box was sent to me by Warcradle Studios for a review, so let's crack it open and see what you get inside. These boxes do not come with build instructions, but they do come with QR codes so you can access them online, along with a complete free army rules, so you do not need to buy expensive books that are full of errata and actual balancing within 2 weeks. Armoured Clash uses bespoke dice, but you get more than you will ever need in a game in this box, and you also get a deck of cards, which is needed if you want to go beyond the introductory rule set, so everything is basically included. Included there are 2 resin bags as well, one smaller one for your commander, and of course the big one for the behemoth. This set also introduces a new plastic base sprue with larger rectangular bases for infantry vehicles and also for flyers. The flying bases are different to the ones we've been seeing for the resin flyers, which have more rock textures on them. These just have the soil texture. And of course, you get a boatload of square bases to go with your infantry as well. There's probably more than you will ever need because of this addition of the new rectangular bases, so that is always nice to see. This set comes with 4 infantry regiment sprues, so you can build reinforced units, which is typical for medium-sized engagements called battles. You also get 4 armored regiment sprues, which basically give you reinforced units for your armored units, some of the supporting armor units for the Rodinas and everything, but also hovering aerial units and cavalry. It doesn't stop there. Warcradle also includes 4 terrain sprues, which allow you to build some modular terrain kits for the dystopian age. If you want a more detailed look at these, I'll link my review in the top right hand corner. And should you ever decide to go for map-based campaigns, there is a massive fold-out poster which can't even fit in the screen, so you can get started with that as well. You also get the full rulebook of the game, which is an A5 format softback version, which is full cover as well and has some lore for all the different factions, so yeah, you can basically jump in with both feet. And to round things off, you also get the gaming aids, which is 2 identical sheets of punch-out tokens for various conditions and damage to your units during battle, as well as a plastic sprue with objective markers on there, range rulers, and also a turn template, which the Commonwealth uses a lot. Let's start things off with the resin parts. First, we have the smaller bag that holds the upgrade resin parts for your commander. The resin part has to be glued on the plastic skycutter and replaces the regular crew with the sniper rifle equipped command variant, so there's some flashing that needs to be cleaned off of these, but it's nothing really too major. You get these excellently detailed models. The torso needs to be glued onto the seat part, but that's nothing too difficult. The other resin bag is this monstrosity for the Commonwealth behemoth. This bag alone weighs over half a pound, or half a kilo, and it has the very large base in there for the behemoth. It's a one-piece mold, so no mold lines on the actual model, and I usually just drill magnets in the bottom for transport. The other big part is half a cylinder to make the top part of the drill. This one is also one piece molded, so no visible mold lines on them, and they simply slot together like this. Both of these parts have guidance pegs and holes, so that's quite easy to do, and the bottom half of the cylinder has the door on it, and it just simply clicks into the base like so. Assembly should be straightforward, just be careful with superglue as it can set very rapidly, so align everything up well. Next up, there are the weapons and cryo generators, it seems, along with the very top of the actual drill. These parts will need to be cleaned up because they will have some mold lines on them. The top part of the drill finally slides into these 2 parts, and that is going to round off the top of your behemoth. And thanks to all of these little guiding elements, it's not very difficult to see which part goes where. Should be fairly straightforward. The only really fidgety parts are these smaller guns, which seem to go to the side of the door, along with some very big rocket launchers as well that can be found on one of the sprues. These look identical to the ones found on the Commonwealth in the Dystopian Wars, so it's very nice to see how they scale up for Armoured Clash. Now it seems that they have these larger holes on there where you glue down, for instance, these rocket batteries. Those can be magnetized, it's not too difficult. The smaller weapons don't have to be magnetized, you can just glue them into place. One of the other options you find on there is sort of the big blown out version of the seismic mortar, also seen in Dystopian Wars, so yeah, very fun to see all of this scaled up. Let's also have a closer look at the armoured plastic sprues. Looks like the Steppe Outrider cavalry are basically 3 parts. You get the torsos of the different riders, but also 2 parts to each horse it seems. You do have to line them up because they won't just interact with each other, you do have to consult the build instructions it seems. The winged hussars on thread bikes have 1 major part, but then seem to come with separate lances on them, so that's going to be a bit fiddly to install. A big sort of tip I can give you is give your plastic glue some working times to go a bit gooey before you try putting them on, or it will be quite difficult. There's also 3 different officer flags, all with a little star symbol on them for the Commonwealth that you can glue onto your tanks to denote the officers. Speaking of the tanks, it does seem like the Tsar has some larger parts to it, but still quite a few for your main battle tank, so let's build it up and see what it ends up looking like. The Skycutters also seem like a bit more of an intricate build. We sort of have the jet engine elements here to the side, but also the plastic sprue, the one that will need to be replaced by the resin commander that we discussed earlier in the video. So yeah, that's going to be a drop-in part for that one. The infantry supporting tractor, the Rodina, does look a lot more straightforward to assemble with 2 major halves, and it does have some really detailed crew members on there as well to paint up whilst they're in there, so it's very cool and intricate model. The second type of sprue are the infantry, and very clearly the Krot armor borer. This one seems like a piece of cake in terms of assembly and clearly has all the elements on there as well to make the Subterrainian marker for use in game to sort of show the opponent where there's an option of something bursting out of the ground. The infantry is absolutely razor sharp in detail, and due to the lack of webbing, it seems like they will be very easy to paint up as well. The officer model will have a standard bearer for it. You do have to take a bit of a closer look to distinguish the Cossack troopers from the regular riflemen, but I don't think it'll be much trouble on the battlefield because the dogs really make that unit stand out. This particular berserker seems to come with his arms attached, but most of the berserkers do not have them attached, so you're definitely going to have to sort of consult the build instructions to see which arms go on which trooper, and it will be a bit fiddly to assemble them, but again, give your plastic glue some time to work and it shouldn't be too difficult. I also spotted 3 tank officers on there, so it's nice to see some variation in those as well. You do get a bunch of different troopers armed with these sort of winter coats, so that's very cool to see that there's lots of variation in the poses as well. And a neat little thing to see is that there's 1 horse on this sprue, which seems to denote the officer. It's actually a conversion I made for my crown, so it's very nice to see officers as cavalry models as well, so yeah, very pleased with that one. And then to round things off for this sprue, we get the big barrels for the field guns or the mortars. These will need to have the wheels glued to the sides of them, but that doesn't look like it's too much of a hassle to assemble. And after a quick bit of searching, I could actually find the different crew weapon members, such as this little guy with the binoculars found on there. It's always nice to see some of those because, well, these can be used to sort of embellish some of your officer units as well if you decide to swap some of them out. I suppose the only unit that I wouldn't give an officer on horseback would be the Cossacks because, well, these are sort of harassing units and skirmishers, and having an officer being on a big horseback is probably not the smartest idea. Now, after some assembly, this is the giant drill in all of its 406 gram glory. I had to check because holding onto this model does sort of give you a feel of its heft. I did not assemble these models with, these side parts rather, with glue, because they were just sort of held in place by friction, but I am going to install some magnets for them later down the line. Now let's do a little size comparison as well with the other behemoths. The first one is the Crown, and yeah, this thing actually dwarfs the Sovereign landship. It sort of has the same footprint, but it is quite a bit taller. The one from the Enlightened still has the biggest footprint by far, but yeah, the chunkiness of this new one is quite a bit different. And finally, when comparing it to the Prussian Walker, it is basically as tall as that Prussian robot, so yeah, this one definitely takes the win in terms of its sheer size. And the model range as a whole also has that same everything just fits in terms of dimensions too. For instance, the door and the ramp on the behemoth is just perfectly scaled for a Tsar battle tank to sort of roll out, which is always neat to see and just makes everything a bit more cohesive. The tanks are definitely not the biggest main battle tanks in the game, but in terms of the rules review that I did earlier on, I did mention that their best quality is actually their quantity. They're quite cheap and a good screen for your infantry to hide behind. This may not actually be the faction if you're a bit of a threadhead, because, well, that's not their main strength. They sort of have the smallest tanks in all different factions, more like the Empire one, where the tanks were not really the dominant thing as well. What is very dominant, though, are the Subterrainian units on the Commonwealth, and yeah, this Krot armored borer is actually larger than the Tsar battle tank. It is slightly longer than the Crown Galahad, so that's very nice to see, but it has this cool sleek tunneling profile on them, so if you want some bigger vehicles, these Subterrainian units are the ones to get. Now, as a final little note, I do like my flying stems to be see-through, and it's not very difficult to do. I just used my X's, ones from Dystopian Wars and from the Flyers, and I just simply snapped off the base and applied some super glue to it. If you want to have some filling of the different holes, all you need to do is apply super glue and bicarbonate, because that will cause a very hefty exothermic reaction, so it's going to get warm, but it dries rock solid and immediately has ground texture, so you're good to go. So yeah, that's it for the review. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, I'll just leave you with a bit of footage of my ongoing terrain project. Bye!